आ रही है बस?
Yep. आ रही है.
चलो.
Welcome to the second episode of the series Celebrating in Reality with Geekosophers. Here we celebrate individuals, their philosophies, and their geekiness. In today's episode, joining with us is UI UX expert, graphic designer, TwitchTV streamer, Shovin. He has done some amazing work in this field, and in this episode, he takes us in his journey as a creative individual. So, without wasting any time, let's just jump right in.
Hi, Shovin. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing good.
Okay, so let's start.
Yes.
देखो बीप आया क्या कुछ?
About recording? Yeah.
Okay, cool. So tell us about your journey. So how it all started.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm a designer, as you probably have known. So for me, designing started at the early age of in the 9th grade. For me, so my mom's an architect. She taught me Photoshop, the very basics, like what the tools do and everything. And me being a very competitive person, I decided to learn more and be better than what I've been taught. So that started with me working with designing, and I felt like I wanted to share my work. And as an artist, that feel always comes in, like where you want to be like, okay, I want somebody to look at my work and have like some impressions toward it. So I had first started posting it in the late of 2015, my work on Twitter. And I used to like get good impressions, and people used to appreciate my work and everything. And I was like more motivated to working with design from that point on. And later on, I would work with organizations, which kept me in a more mental mindset of doing design. Then when I soon came to college,
before college only you started working?
Yes.
Oh, that's news. So like how you started with that?
So for me, it was always like being in that field of where I want to work with bigger organizations and everything. So this was one thing that like I had in my mind. Like back then, I was just a kid like who used to play games and everything. But soon I was into a gaming org, but then I got signed in as a player. But then as I retired as a player, I wanted to do more designing work, as it was my hobby and it's something that interests me a lot. I wanted to learn. So I had my mentors who taught me, and I was working under so many professionals where I learned a lot of design principles and theories, which I probably wouldn't have learned before. But it was so important, those lessons, because they are very crucial to making your design like much better. Those simple few principles is what like used to change the flow of your design. So that's when I actually started my designing. With UI UX though, that started in college. So when I first came to college, there were lots of WhatsApp groups, like this club, that club, first year groups and everything. So in those first year groups, one day somebody asked, like, does somebody know Photoshop? And me being me, I was very ready. Like, yes, I know Photoshop for sure. And then I get a message from the person, and he said, hey, you know Photoshop, right? I wanted to see your work. So of course, I just showed my work and all the work that I've done over the years. So they were quite impressed to see some of the work that I've done. And they were like, okay, we will get back to you on that. So I didn't realize at this point of time that it was a club interview that I've signed up for. So this was the most funniest occasion that happened, that I've gone my way past everything and I've signed up for a club which I have no idea on. I didn't even realize this was the process. And as I went through, the seniors contacted me. They took my interview, and I was like giving up like whatever designs I did, my tasks in the previous years and everything. And they were quite happy with it. And then I got into the club. Now this club was ACM, where I also met Anshul, which is a lot of good experiences over there, as that's when I first learned of the term UI UX. Now UI UX designing is like a huge boost to anything that you're trying to work with in design, because UX simply looks at how you are able to perceive the human psychology and apply it to your design. And that's something that intrigued me a lot. And I was taught by my seniors. It was in the starting few years of the section, we learned like what is UI, what is UX. He taught me the tools, and that's when I learned the software Figma and Adobe XD. So I use personally, I use
in which year
Figma.
you started that?
So I started in 2019 working on Figma.
In which year of
Second
college?
year.
Second year.
Second year.
Figma.
So
Okay.
this was second year, first sem. Like we started
Mhm.
using Figma, and that's when I like learned a lot. I did start in the first year at the end of it, but I had not understood much at the time. But then as I progressed with like projects, which I did, I was able to understand more and more of what UI UX was. I did have a lot of difficulty to be creative in UI UX, because it was like, how do I make this look clean, and how do I make this look, because this is a complete new field of design. And like people, when they say they're a designer, you should understand that there's so many versions of it. Like there's a graphic designer, there's an illustrator, there's a there's a fashion designer, there's a web designer, and there's UI UX also here. So there is a lot of aspects that are involved in this. So when I first stepped into UX, it was like a restart for me. But since I had that, the thoughts of design principles, it was slightly, easier for me to step into that world. But that journey was where I started with UI UX and learned a lot from my seniors. And like even through the online courses, and other seniors from other clubs had also like gave me a lot of inspiration from their projects and everything. So it really did work out well.
That's nice. So what about your core branch? Like
so
which branch? Yeah.
This might interest people, but I'm from electronics and communication engineering. So when I cleared my 12th exams, so this is also another situation you probably might not know of, but I'm a medical student who cleared my 12th. Like my 12th was for medical. But
Plain
I
bio,
cleared my
like with ads or
I took PCMB. And I was mainly aiming for NEET. We skipped NEET, then we went for architecture. We skipped architecture, then we went for design. For
why
design,
you skipped NEET? Can you tell like why you skipped NEET, then why you skipped architecture?
Well, later, once you reach to that point, as you were writing the exam of NEET, you start to realize that maybe it's not the best option for you yet. Because I hadn't discovered much, right? So I knew there was engineering and doctor, the two, fundamental ideal choices that an Indian parent would give you. But I never moved on from like what other things I could do. So when I saw that there was a design course,
already doing design.
Yeah, I'm doing
stuff,
engineering.
Right? But
yeah, I'm doing engineering and designing. Yes.
Yes. So still you didn't know about like you can pursue designing as a profession.
I had an idea that I could do designing, but I didn't know if there was like a certain degree and everything and it's all that stuff. But then that's when I learned about National Institute of Design, NID, and I was so interested. So I did write the exams and everything, but I did miss the merit seat by 0.4%. So we skipped on that also because it wasn't merit, so I didn't want to I want to go through that, and we ended up going with the engineering course. Now why engineering? Because I had cleared these exams, all of them, but then again I was always surrounded by computers. So for me, it always interested me in computer architecture and all that stuff. So I decided like
computer architecture as in like CAO, computer architecture and organization, like the chips and how the processor works.
Yes. So I was always into that, and I decided like either it's CS or electronics. So I did get the seat for electronics, so I chose that. And I came to this college, and yes, that's where I was able to even touch UI UX as a platform for design. And I honestly thought at first that when I'm coming to the college, I won't be able to ever see like design or be able to do designing anymore, because I thought like it's engineering college, the pressure that will be there won't ever let me touch design ever again. But I was wrong in that. I was able to see people who are also like me, who are like designers and do this. And I was really happy to know that. And it really got me to know like a lot more people through that. So it was not a dream lost for me, because I still continue design, and here I am today.
So what about EC? So like when you like was sure about like how you want to pursue design only and not your goal branch, or it was decided from before? Yeah.
So for me, it was this, right? I was asked like whether I would one day like opt for a complete career in design. Now, this is probably like something people might not agree on, but when I choose for design, I'm very peculiar for what org or company I want to work with, because I do not want to hate design working as a designer. So this is a fear that is there in the mind, like where you're working for an organization, so you have a lot of confinements, restrictions, all that kind of stuff. Now the one thing I do not want to do is one day end up hating design. This happened to me in one of my internships as a UI UX designer. I was very like confined with the restrictions and everything, but that was completely understandable. But there were always like situations which made me wonder, like, do I still continue in this? It just brought me that mindset, but it didn't stop me from like maybe trying my own thing. So I ended up doing like my own set of work, and I'm still with the design flow and everything. But with electronics, now that's a skill set that I've earned myself, and I've not like left go of it. So I've been using it for my own work, and we have trying to like work on stuff. So the things I'm working on right now is very much like for an org. So for any projects that are electronic based, I am usually the one in charge. But most of the time, we don't have those. We are into the design department for it. But if there are, I usually handle that.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
So about you also started streaming on Twitch, right? So how it started and what was the motivation behind it?
All right. So I used to stream back in 2016, and I was too young at the time. So
before college only you started it.
Yeah. So it was a long time ago at a young age. So when I won my first like tournament, that's when my channel actually just got like a surplus of 200 people just randomly coming in my stream. So that was when I won a tournament in a game, and I was like, okay, this is nice. But as I was doing designing, I was like, you know what, let me stream some designing, maybe people are interested, and maybe some people would hire me. So I was very much ready to earn at the age of 16 itself. I was all in for it. I was like, sure, let's start streaming, and maybe see if people would like to hire me based on that, which is what happened. People would hire me, and I was always like trying to get like some money here and there. So that was always the case. But my 11th and 12th, I was in a school where there's no electronics allowed. So I had to move to a hostel. So no PCs or keyboards or mouses at my fingers for 2 whole years. I literally forgot how to design at this point. It felt like a brain reset. But then when I came to college, I decided I'll learn everything all over again. Doesn't matter. And I got caught up to speed to it. But for this streaming career, it again wasn't starting at the start of college, because college schedule, as you know, is very tight. You're moving around a lot. So it was very hard for me. I did try it once in college. It was nice. But then again, when you're a streamer, the one thing you want to keep in mind is you want to try not have any distractions at the background. And I don't think I can control that in hostel and everything, right? So it is what it is.
So how many people were there with you? your roommates?
So in my room, there were in second year 4 people, and that's when I had started my streaming once. And I decided, you know what, it's probably not like the best situation right now for me, because the room was like either I wasn't there, or when I was there, my roommate would be annoyed because me saying anything loudly would annoy him from his sleep. And he sleeps in the afternoon. And none of our roommate, only that one roommate used to sleep in the afternoon. So we were just like, okay, you know what, fair enough. I cannot say anything to him. But later on in 2021, in the around, I think January or somewhere around that time, January or February, I was into a game, and I was just playing this game, and I thought, you know what, let me just see some Discord servers if there's some people who would like to play with me, right? And I went to those servers. I found this one fella who was streaming this game, which I play a lot, and he's Indian. So I was like, oh wow, nice. So I thought I'd go to his stream, and then I went to his stream. From his stream, I followed another streamer. This streamer went to another streamer where there was a podcast going on of mental health, and I was quite intrigued by this. So I was like, damn, there's a whole lot of people who are Indian and they're streaming on this platform. Because in 2016, there was, I think I was one of the very few Indians who was streaming at that point. I was very shocked to see that there's so many right now. So I was like, okay, so maybe there's a lot of people. Then I found out there's a whole website for Indian streamers over there on Twitch. I was like, my God, this is a lot of people. Like, I had nowhere near seen these numbers back then. But what I realized was the pandemic played a huge role to this, because once the pandemic hit, I think a lot of people, they got their laptops, they got their PCs to like work from home and all that stuff. So people did try out streaming for their time pass probably, or like to spend like some entertainment. And I think that's when I found out so many people. And at this point, I was like, should I start? So a friend of mine said that go for it. I think you're an entertaining person. Go for it. Try something out. You can probably even do designing and like games and stuff, whatever you want. So I did it. I started designing, and a lot of people were very, intrigued with how I work and everything. Like and one important thing that I love to do on stream is design reviews. Now, design reviews are one of the most fun things that I do on stream. So people send me their videos, their Instagrams, and their edits. Now, I criticize it like I'm Gordon Ramsay, but a designer. So it's quite critical for my it's quite critical when I do these reviews. I have even made like a tier list once where I just rate people's channels based on their designs and not content. So I literally would be doing this the whole day, just like where I'm just reviewing them on stream for them to get a live feedback as well. And I was at first assuming they would think that I'm very egoistic and just saying shit. But I was glad to see that people actually understood my points, because I was able to like convey them how much ever possible through like means of diagrams and everything. I gave them a lot of examples. So that's how my channel started working well for me. Design reviews was like what people really enjoyed, because for them, it's improving their channel. And for me, it's like helping them. And I always like try to help out as much as possible. So I became that designer guy. But there is a very infamous moment of mine. I don't know if I can send you this clip, but I'll try and find it. It is when I was wearing shades. I was wearing sunglasses because one of the videos had too many flashy moments. So because of the flashy moments, I decided, okay, I cannot watch this video. Sorry, your design is very annoying right now. So I'm going to wear sunglasses and review it. So I reviewed his video. The next person's video, I was like, I think the color is a bit off. I didn't realize I still had the shades on. And the chat is like, and then I was like, wait a second. Oh shit, I forgot. My bad. I removed the shades and I then reviewed it. I was like, oh wait, the color is correct. And the chat is just confused and they're like, question mark, question mark, question mark. They're like, are you serious? You really reviewing while wearing sunglasses? And that became my most infamous and hilarious moment of my channel since that day. The pro designer just does this. He puts on sunglasses and he reviews designs and tells the color is off. So that is one of the most iconic moments, and that's like how entertaining it became. So yeah, that's become like what my streaming career has been.
And like you told like at the start of the streaming, so you wanted like the motivation was like to get the jobs and all, right? But and now you stream to help people. Any other motivation apart from that?
So for me, streaming like has helped me connect to a lot of people. Mainly like the thing is for me on Discord is we sit in the morning on our Discord servers. We join a VC. We do our own work. Everyone does their own work. So we have this voice channel called Just Working, which we started back then. And now it's named Just Chatting. But what we do, we join the voice channel. We sit in the morning. Everybody does their own office work. We just chill about, and all these friends are like from like streaming, right? So as soon as we get a break, we're like, do you want to play something? And we're just ready. And if you want to work on something, so we're much like always ready. And we have like these content ideas and everything, so that keeps motivating us to like working on the streaming stuff. And for me, like when I first started with this, my main thought was like, I love seeing people's designs and overlays. Now overlays was what kept me like into this business mainly, because overlays is what like many people demand for, streamers demand for, and that's something I design. So seeing all this production that is put into this, I was very much like, you know what, this production work that I see is what interests me. I want to continue on this. So that kind of aspect to streaming helped me, you know, stay towards it more. Like so we've hosted a couple of tournaments, like there are a few of them right now which I have worked part on, and there was one of them which I was alone on the project. And first that was the first time, like I think probably a lot of people were like, it was, the tournament was supposed to be a joke, right? We meant to make the tournament as a joke. It turned out to be a very professional tournament, and people actually felt like the production value was insane. That made me very proud, because it's like my work. I've worked so much on it.
For the overlays, like what all things
for
you
overlays, for production, like scene switching, manual, like writing down what doing the statistics, even like at the end of few matches, that was all for me like a lot of work. But for me to receive that, you know, like appreciation, that the satisfaction that I got was, it was nice. It was brilliant, because it was supposed to be something very much of a joke, but it turned out to be very good. So that was really what made me happy.
That's nice.
So I was working management and production at that point.
So while in college, like while you were pursuing your EC branch subjects and also doing designing, so what were the questions that you asked yourself, like at that point of time? Like what were the, like there might be some doubts, right? So should I do this, should I do that, or was it clear back then also?
So for me, the question was, what do I do once college is over? So it was a very big question for me. Like my college is still not over, but I kind of have decided right now. But the question was for me back then, like, how am I going to still keep design in my life? Will I still want to do it after my college is over? Do I think like I can just do a job or anything, or do it professionally and actually like join a company for that work and maybe move on for masters for it? But what I decided in the end of the day was that I want to continue with what my branch is, and or even move to the CS side of things. But designing is going to stay forever as my part-time hobby and job, if time permits, that is. But I'm like right now at the moment, as working like in a startup and everything, there's not like a constraint of time exactly, but considering how much work I have and everything, I still feel like I can still continue designing as my part-time hobby. in the nights and evenings, because that's when I spend my time with friends. And when I'm talking to them, I just usually sit on Photoshop, finish up some design work which client people or like the clients have given and everything. And it works out very well for me for now. But I've met a few seniors who are working in the companies and they're still continuing design, which is very interesting. So that's something I want to aim for, that to keep both my core branch. I did have that question back then, like would it be possible, or like should I even consider what job should I opt for as a UI UX designer, or should I not? But I did make up my mind that I feel like if I keep going with the UI UX job, one day, the thing is, I have these moments where I have creative blocks a lot, and it does happen for a lot of designers and everything. But I do not want to force myself to be working on designs all day and all the time, right? So it's something I enjoy doing for the moment, and I don't want to maybe make it like a job at this. Like I want to be I'm very selective when I work with freelancing. I'm very selective with my clients as well. Like I usually don't like take anybody randomly now. Before I did. But now I'm just very selective with it. I work with people I know, and it's much more easier for me as a designer to understand that client because I know them. I might know their tastes. I might know how to react, how they would react. So for me, that's just improving my skill. But obviously, I don't want to be in that comfort zone all the time. Sometimes I do have to move out of that comfort zone and work with people. But yeah, that's fine by me. But these are the questions that did come up. I just chose to stick with both for now. But my main is going to be probably my core branch, and then designing will be my secondary, which I just enjoy.
Okay. So your next job, or maybe you are still in college, so your next job, so will it be in the UI UX industry, or you will be pursuing EC?
So the company that I've joined, the job description is going to be more towards the CS side. So CSE. I'll be working on, so it'll be on database projects. So that'll be what I'll be working on. But the course hasn't been allocated yet. So my second preference in that course list was VLSI, which is ECE based. Now, that is basically working on circuitry and manufacturing and fabrication. So that's what I want to maybe move into in the later future. But the course that we're going to get is probably on business demand, which isn't yet mailed to us yet, but they have given the offer letter and everything. So that is done. So I'm just waiting on that, and I'll see how it goes. But hopefully things do step in my favor in that regard.
What your day look like at the present moment? So you are, I'll just clear it. So you are in college, right?
Yeah.
Doing internship.
Yeah.
And other stuff also, right? So yeah, tell us.
So my work starts from 9 usually, but like the proper amount of work actually starts at 10 because I have sometimes, got like everything to finish up, clean up my setup, everything, and then I get ready to work. Because that 1 hour just goes in me trying to build the atmosphere for myself to work. Even though it starts at 9, I'm just doing that for the 1 hour. But by 10, I start everything. And by 5:30, I'm done with all my work. So my work is right now working on asset designing, and right now I'm working with another org. So that work also coincides with this. And the production work is done, this work, and I keep checking my mails and every now and then and like making notes of everything. And I start my work with this, and it goes all the way from morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. So till this whole period of time, I'm usually just stuck on this chair. I'm on the chair and just working in front of my monitor, and it goes on. But I do take breaks in between, like around 1 to 2 is like my lunch break. But I finish my lunch in like 15 minutes, and then 45 minutes I'm just like, okay, you know what, since I'm free a little, just watch some series and just watch it, and I'll just take a break and then just start working at 2 to 5. I just, when I'm working, it's quite simple for me. It's full concentration. Just have my music on or something, or just like keep my meetings on and everything. Just focus. That's one principle that I've learned. Discipline is something that I've just recently learned to find. And at 5 o'clock, I go to workout. So I start exercising. By 7, I'm back. I go for a walk. And then when I'm back at 8 o'clock, it's just normal dinner. And then at 9, I prep up for streaming. So by 10 o'clock, I'm ready with my stream prep. And I mean, every day, it's not everyday streams, but whenever I do stream, I always have some prep work to be done. You check Twitter, you check what interactions you can get today and make people come on your stream. So you got to think in that way. So it's a little bit of a digital marketing in that sort. As soon as that's done, I'm ready to stream up till maybe 12:30 or 1. Depends on how interactive the chat is. So usually sometimes the chat just goes very interactive and they're just asking questions. So it just pulls up all the way to 1 o'clock. And then I'm ending the stream and I'm just like, okay, now I need my 8 hours of sleep, go back. So I just ended at 1 and I'm straight off to bed. Like shut down PC, everything, and that's it. That's just my daily routine. That's just how it is. But as for a side right now it's in work from home and this pandemic. I'm really not sure how it will be soon. Can't wait for it also, but at the same time I'm also like anxious because it's going to be a feeling that I've not had for a long while, just like going out and working about and everything, because that's been a very, very long while.
Yeah. So okay, so yeah, so like suppose at 30, at 35 or 40, so what you would like to do, or if you look back to your life, like how it should be?
I mean, I don't feel like there are many regrets to the decisions right now, because it has led me to this point where I am right now. Maybe if there was one thing, I would probably try and improve my drawing skills so that I could get that 0.4 percentage in the NID exam. Maybe I would have ended up a proper designer, who knows. But other than that, I think if at 30, 35, if there is anything, I don't really feel like I should be changing anything at this point. But I'm glad with the decisions so far. Like, it's got me to this point. Maybe if I, could not have done certain decisions in first year and second year for messing up my academics, this, that, those things are something that have made me spend more time towards other things than improving my design skills, which it's fine because I got the time in the pandemic to do that. But I really wish the pandemic didn't hit this much. Even though I did start streaming because of it, I still do feel like I miss having people like live in front of me. It has been a huge effect for me. But yeah, I don't think I changed much.
Okay, so any message for the audience who will be who want to be pursuing this field? So how to start?
So with designing, I'd say be humble, because when somebody criticizes your design, there's not often that it can be pleasing to your ears. Yeah, it could be possible that the person would be wearing goggles and reviewing it as well. Just make sure that the person's not doing that. If it is, you'll have question marks being spammed in WhatsApp. But you want to be very humble to how you go with this, because designing is where you'll have a lot of people have different opinions. Having an opinion in designing is very hard. because you'll find people be like, okay, this design looks good, but maybe, and the other person will be like, no, it's fine however it is. So you're always going to find that stuff. The one thing you need to do is able to settle your mind on one, and that's what you feel like the client would like and not what other designers would like. So that's how you want to work in design. And that's a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people have made that mistake before. I've seen like they take opinions from the seniors, like other colleagues and everyone, and they end up never getting a final product. So that's just like you having way too much of ideas in your head. So one point that brings up is when you want to work with certain designs, try not overwork where you make 115 ideas and be like, okay, now I select one. You never go with that procedure, because that is the worst idea to go with. Go with very simple. Just start simple, see what 3 ideas you can come up with, see what best you can go with that, then work on it. And one thing I probably tell a lot of my juniors as well is when you're designing, you don't have to be fancy to make a good design. Simplistic can also be a good design. So you don't have to push yourself to the limit while making a design, because maybe sometimes doing too much can be too bad. So try be simple. Maybe you learn a thing or two from that. You will be able to find out more mistakes when your design is simple. You can see the details very clearly. You will know what to do. And do not think of designing as an option just to earn money, because you got to enjoy it to maybe one day probably get a proper career out of it. That's one thing that I learned. If you're doing it for that, it's going to be difficult. I learned it late, but I would appreciate like if everybody learned it much earlier.
Yeah. So anything else that you want to like tell about your story? Add anything else?
For designing, there are a lot of things that have boosted how I feel about it. Like, so I used to work with the guy named Sesso. So did help me out. Like, he is a designer at 100 Thieves at the moment, an organization, esports organization. So I saw his videos and I was very much like, if I have to learn any design principle, this man has probably taught me a lot. So I saw those videos, and I think if you guys are ever into learning how basic graphic design principles are, that is the person. And one of the few inspirations in college, right? So the few inspirations in college, his name is Ansh Mehra. Now, this man is, I have no words. He's insane. He is insane. And when I first heard of him in first year, people told me people would ask me, right, like, what softwares do you know? And I was like, okay, I know Illustrator, I know After Effects, I know Photoshop. And I wouldn't go about saying more from that point onwards. When somebody told me about Ansh Mehra, the list just kept going on. Like, I was just hearing it. I was like, this man knows so much and he's taking so many sessions. And for me, that guy became an inspiration. So I saw that this man's doing seminars on design and everything. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that. I want to teach design. And that's something I definitely would love to do. So because of that, I had seen his videos as well. His production quality, obviously, like his edits are insane. I saw that and I was like, you know what? Maybe one day I'm going to reach up to that and get my stuff working in that manner. So I started teaching design actually. I did do it at an online platform. I registered as a teacher and I taught students designing. I was glad that I got a good review from the students. They felt that I was teaching well. It was my first time and I just winged it. I did not know how to go about it, teaching design, but I made it like a proper job so that I am able to visualize what I need to do for the students. And I made sure that the tasks were not that simple and everything. I made sure like I could teach every topic as simplistically as possible. And I was just trying my best to, help out the way I could. And that's one thing that my parents also say to me. And like all my friends say this to me, right? So in hostel also, I used to teach my friends, like if there's an exam coming, I used to teach them. Like if I've learned something, I teach them. So my parents said this, like, if you don't get any job, like at the end of like anything, if no career option is working out, even if designing doesn't work out, there's one thing that you're probably going to be doing best is probably be a teacher. And I was like, that's not going to be wrong. I feel like that even I feel that I have hope in that, because when I did that as a job, I'm not going to deny it, I enjoyed it. There were some days which were like bad, where the students weren't reacting well, they weren't understanding, but then the next day I tried to make up for it, do my best somehow, like find out some way, that some methodology to help them out, some infographic, something. But I'd make sure that they get these points no matter like what the situation is, because it also helps that my age isn't like too far from them, so I know what they mean and how their reactions are. So it's quite easy to understand what they're saying at that point of time. So I think that helps a lot. And I really was enjoying being a teacher, being able to teach so many students. So at the time of my class, there was 30 people. So having a low population, I think, was helping a little bit. But for designing, I think that's been like a lot of people for me, because I've never had more than 4 people ever ask me about design. And it's like 30 people, it's so much of pressure. But teaching design is, it's a concept. There's so many concepts and there's different ways to explain it. But if you're able to do that and, get the right mindset out of people, like you want to make them not think. So the way I said, like, you don't want to make them a designer who's just like trying way too hard, finding 100 million ideas and not fixating on one. That's kind of what you want to avoid, because that's the way you get into creative blocks unknowingly. And having experienced so many issues as a designer, I've been people know me as a designer, right? But the amount of shoutings, the amount of complaints I've heard as a designer helps me know like what I shouldn't do. There's so many problems that I've had in my career so far that now I don't, right? Now it's like much more careful, because people trust me on this, like I can do it, and I do it, right? But before this, it wasn't that way. People trusted me, I didn't live up to the mark. And I think those lessons taught me a lot, and it really helped me. So when I started teaching like this, I enjoyed it completely. So when in the club I was, ACM, that is Association for Computer Machinery, I was elected as a UI UX lead. Now, that was something that was very much like surprisingly good for me, because I did not expect it once, because my interview, when I got taken for the interview, I was quite disappointed in myself, let alone anything that could happen. I was so annoyed with myself. I was like, dude, I don't think I would get that position. Well, it is what it is. I had given up at this point, right? But
I guess the interview doesn't account much. Your work showed.
Yeah. The work is what it shows. And after that, I was elected. I was so happy. And once like everything was handed down to us, my goal was to teach these juniors. And I felt like I was able to do, at least for them, that's what they've said, that they found like a really good mentor. And I was happy to be that person, like to be able to teach them, to be able to guide them. And to be honest, they've come up a long way right now. It is really spectacular. The one thing about being a teacher is, like being a teacher or mentor, is you need to be able to understand that student's perspective or that person's perspective, like how they feel about it, how you want to know their mental situation when you're saying any topic or even teaching them. So that really helped me out when being able to talk to these guys. They were very free with me, and that's what I like, right? Like if you're free with me, like you feel like you can say anything, that is a very good, relationship you want to have, to be able to convey any topic or message. So that's something I always try to aim for. Even with your colleagues, it's important that you're like in good terms, because even like where I work right now, it's like, so the design manager who I work under, he is very nice. And like even if I have any criticism, he like accepts it. And because it's like we've known each other now, so it's very good, and we get each other's points. So the way you explain it also very much it matters a lot and brings out like a lot of information. So yeah, you got to just try and work out however best possible.
True. So with that note, let's end this podcast. I'll provide the links in the description so that you can get in touch with Shovin, and also the links for his mentors, and also about the Geekosophers in the description. So thank you, Shovin, for joining. It was pleasure.
Thank you for inviting. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.